we need a question on training. This is my attempt, or something like that. So I think that we do need to cover all the areas that are in there, but, okay, so that's the questions. Thank you, I guess.
I'm going to borrow Rob's, what is it, government law attorney hat for just a second and suggest that to the extent you're looking for feedback, you should get that individually, and we should be discussing the questions on email as a group.
Okay.
I totally agree.
I would not. That was your hat, Rob.
I would not participate in such a thing. Yeah.
And ultimately, you're just going to have to decide what the questions are, Mary Beth.
I know. Thank you. If I put in something about payments, no, I'm just kidding. All of these things that we have going on, I just hope I don't confuse what I'm doing.
4 questions about the
All right, so then I will get the questions by Thursday, and I will have them finalized, and we will get them on Monday. But as I said, if I find a glaring hole, I'll probably ask for somebody to submit a question.
And your HR folks will talk to each of the 5 we choose here, and make sure that they know the recommended ground rules.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call in, don't sit in, just show up for your interview. And, and it's all public, so be aware.
Yeah, and I think if they want to withdraw at that point.
If they want to withdraw. Or request that it be an executive session, they can make that request, but we don't have to grant it. Well, actually, no, we couldn't do that because we will be meeting again. We wouldn't be able to comply with the public meetings law advance requirement for executive session. So I think that's just impossible. Sorry, I'm talking and thinking.
Steve?
This is Steve. I have a question. So regarding call-ins that brought to mind, if you have a number of out-of-state applicants, will we accept telephone interviews?
I think we would have to, especially if they're from out of state. We can set it up so we can have camera available, so that we can have, we'll just meet downstairs, in the conference room downstairs, which we have the ability to, do FaceTime, Skype, whatever.
Great.
So, if they're calling in, that's how we've done them, and I like those much better than phone conversations, but that's just me. So. I would hope the local people come in. I mean, that is my hope, is that the local people would come in to interview. Okay, so, we have applications in front of us, and I think I did send out, I hope you got the message that the top candidate, Blair, has withdrawn their application. So I think in an effort to kind of keep everybody, again, being sensitive that some people might not have, their employer may not, is if we just call them by their first names, is maybe that, I don't think we have any duplicate first names in here, so if we just speak of the candidates in first names, I think that might be an easier way to get through. I thought of doing a code, but then it's just too confusing, so if we just stick with first names, I think we'll be good. So, I don't know, where do you want to start? Who, if we want to go down the list,
or perhaps in we can go through rather than by the list, just as they appear in the packet.
Do that.
Then what do we
say?
do with that? I mean, I think I hate to. Well,
I guess that's our number one question, is what is the process of this going to be? How do we want to review these? How do we want to select our 5 candidates that we want to interview?
Well, maybe we could start with some disqualifiers. I'll just say off the bat, I think we're in the enviable position of, in the end, we're going to have to turn away a bunch of really qualified people because we have a really great crowd. I think given the degree of experience and commitment that people have shown in their applications, I think, if it were a thinner pool, I would say, entertain any attorney on this list, but I think, there are clearly a lot of people with a good deal of experience. And I tended to shy away from the people with, say, less than 5 years of law experience. So if we could start with that, maybe that would help narrow the pool.
I think we're gonna have to use names though in order to strike things. I would agree with Steve entirely. If we were, I think we have that luxury here. We've got a lot of experience. I would just make one note that I did note that there were 2 people with a lot of experience in public records that don't have Oregon State Bar membership currently, but come from reciprocity states, I think. Not knowing for sure.
I found
the audit
from the bar.
So we could check those, and a couple of those made my top 6.
Yeah, see.
So, but I think we could scratch off the bottom 5 on this list.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can scratch off the bottom 3 on the upper list, safely.
Yeah, sorry, we're looking at the first page.
Yeah, so just, the master list.
Yes.
The law students that just graduated, the bottom 3 of meets qualification, and I think do not meet qualification, I think those are gone. So that's 8 kind of down, unless somebody really thought one of those 8 was.
Should we?
I'm with you so far.
Motion.
So, okay, I would move to strike the bottom 3 in the category meets qualification, and all 5 of the ones that do not meet qualification.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You don't hear any opposed, so
And then
we'll start with that.
I guess I'll just keep going and see how far I get. Among those in the second category, law degree but not part of the Oregon State Bar, I found 2 of them had pretty darn good impressive experience we would need to pursue further with Michael's little cheat sheet. But I would then propose to leave, at least for the moment on that list, Kevin and Ginger, and strike Sarah and Sarah Lynn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
And then to carry it on further, Ginger and Kevin, based on your list, which I meant to look at and I didn't, but you found the reciprocity. If we just look to Ginger and Kevin's application, are they from states that we have reciprocity with?
So, let's see, which one of these is which? Both of them, the answer appears to be yes. Ginger, I would say definitely, and Kevin is, I believe, but it depends on whether he was admitted to Virginia by passing the bar or whether he waived into Virginia.
Okay.
Because Maryland, which is another one of the states, if he passed in either DC or Virginia, then he would be okay. But if he passed in
Waived in
Maryland
from Maryland, that
and
would.
waived into one of those, then he might not be. I'm personally.
So we would need, assuming you got to the top 5, we would need to ask him that.
Yeah.
Those questions.
But it looks good.
I could go on further, but now it gets to, who I think is my top 5 versus others, and I don't know if people want to stop listening to me talk.
No, you've been doing great.
So with what's left, one thing we could think about is whether we want to just have everyone kind of rank the remaining candidates, or maybe just put them in categories from first, second, or third tier, and then like assign them points rather than, or if we want to actually discuss people, that's okay with me too. I don't know how.
You can do any of them.
Before we do that, I have a question for the lawyers in the room. We have a couple candidates remaining in the school who are former DOJ or currently DOJ staffers, and I'm unfamiliar with conflict of interest rules and whether that would pose a problem for them in this job, would they need to then conflict out of certain discussions.
So this is Rob, maybe I could address that at least in part, or maybe keep Michael out of it, maybe Michael wants to weigh in on it, create an issue for you to talk about that, because I know the 2 you're talking about, I don't see a potential conflict for either one of them, because neither one of them works in public records. Which, therefore, neither one of them made my job. So, there you have it.
It's not impossible, but I think it's unlikely
Yeah.
that they would have a conflict.
As we're whittling down, just to note, that, and you all probably read the papers this week, there's a person on this list that recently entered into a settlement with the state to not work for the state for 5 years, so.
That's a problem.
Automatic disqualifier.
I think actually that settlement had an exception for appointed or elected positions.
Was it appointed as well? Okay then.
So I don't think
There
that
we go.
actually.
And I,
Yeah, that was brought up to me by HR too, and so it just we need to understand what the conditions of the settlement are.
Yeah, I knew it was elected, I didn't know that.
and I, of course, heard that. I assumed actually the opposite, that it was just work for DOJ. Maybe it is broader, but I kind of stopped looking and poking at it because that particular person didn't make my top 6.
Okay.
Yeah, there are several attorneys on this list that have extensive experience with public records statutes, and
That's true.
I didn't see anything that spoke to that experience.
I think the one thing that I was a little concerned with is the lack of training.
Yep.
Strength of any of the candidates, I guess. Maybe that's something that we're gonna have to look at, is how important is that? I mean, it is an important part, from experience, that the information we've gotten is that, I'm not saying that people can't train, but the feedback that we've gotten from those that have an ombudsman or an advocate, training has been an integral part of solving some of these issues that we have, especially to the public and the media. I think teaching to lawyers is one thing, but can it be taught to the general public? Can it be taught to the media in such a manner that it's going to be understandable or made simple and straightforward? Those are my concerns.
Well, I'll tell you from the reason why my organization supported this bill was for the training aspect, for training of the custodians of public records throughout the state. I represent 950 districts in the state, some very sophisticated, modern operations, others that are still in the 18th century. And I kid you not. So from my perspective, the training component is really critical, because a lot of the problems can be solved if the custodians actually know what the law requires.
What is your yardstick for training experience? Because I noticed that a lot of these candidates did have CLE training experience. 2 of them are in roles where they train staff internally in government. One had pretty extensive training experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying I have my top 5, and I think 3 of them had training experience.
Okay.
The 2 others were basically training attorneys, and my concern with that is not everybody's an attorney, and how you train an attorney, and I just know this from doing trainings for DOJ, judicial, the DAs and that sort of thing. I modify what I'm saying to them as to what I say to the records officers at a state agency or the county clerks or the city recorders, because you're dealing with a different audience. And that's my only concern. I'm not saying it's insurmountable, it just was something that, for me, was a little disappointing, and since it is such a big part of this position. I mean, I still came up with 5, but.
Yeah, this is Steve, I would agree. I think it's hard, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bit of a unicorn position that to expect somebody to have, be thoroughly steeped in public records law and have trained and have managerial experience. I mean, a lot of these roles, they're specialized roles. I counted toward training, I think we talked last time about public speaking and comfort relating to an audience. And I think that spoke in favor of some of the candidates that I was. I was just gonna say that, you know, in terms of the people who stood out for my top five, really, I'm kind of on the bubble, I was more like six. You know, the people who not only had experience dealing with public records, but clearly articulated why they want this job and what they think this job is all about, rose above everyone else.
Yeah, that transparency piece is really key for me too. That's kind of what I was looking at, is were they qualified? Kind of on the road of transparency, where did they fall?
So might I make a suggestion to kind of move us forward? How about this, and then I kind of borrowing from something Michael said, how about each of us list off their top three? And I'll just put a check mark next to each one, and then we kind of report out what the top checks look like, and maybe there will be a natural point. Does that make sense, or do you want to, I'm just trying to throw something out.
Can we go for top five?
Top five?
Yeah. I didn't
I was
know
gonna
mine.
say, top five, that's hard.
Top five. Yeah, that's hard for me too, because I have a tie for number five. But you have,
Well, do 3 or 5. It'll all work out. I mean, we can do either your top 3 or your top 5. It's all gonna work out, because if we all clearly have the same top 3, then our decision's easy. But I think we're gonna get different names and numbers for those that have 5. I have 3 that kind of rose above. I have 2 that I really liked, and then I have a third, and then the other 2, I like, but I have concerns, and it's more because of where they're doing their work with, and kind of and this is my jaded, piece, is who they're working for and what my experience is with those entities and transparency. And so that's where I come in, that's how kind of I did them, but my last 2 have cautionary flags. And
I have 2, and I have a bunch of maybes.
Rather than everyone reading off their list of 5, why don't you start with your 5, and then we could add to it. So if you have 5 and someone adds just one name,
Well, do we care,
Hold on, what?
we care about the rank preference though, don't we?
I think we do.
That's kind of what,
I have a top 3, and then kind of a tie below that, and then it gets real thick with that.
what if we just, by my count, there are 10 people still remaining, right? So maybe each of us wants to just take a minute to figure out, of those 10, who are my top 3, who are my next 3, who are my bottom 4? And then we'll just go name by name, and if they're in your top 3, you know, give them, just as they go around. So, I mean, this is just an idea, like, we can score, like, you get, if you're in the top 3, that's 1 point, if you're in the next 3, it's 2 points, if you're in the bottom.
No, do it that way, because then you'll have,
The lowest number.
Yes. so.
Okay, so the top 3 is 3 points, whatever, that's kind of the idea that I had just a few minutes ago, like tiers, and then if you're in the top tier, you get X number of points, let's say 3 points. In the next tier, you get 2 points, and then we'll just each say, and we'll come up with scores for everybody that way. And just say 3 points, 2 points, 1 point.
I mean, alternatively, we could just go round and around, we could each list our top,
Yeah.
and then a second, and a third.
I'm not sure I can do that fairly, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know who's number 1, who's number 2.
yeah, that's true, and that's set for.
if you want, I'll start
With your top 5,
with my top 5.
unranked.
Unranked.
Okay.
Kevin, Ginger, David, Adam, Lisa.
Hang on a second. Kevin, Ginger, David, what were the other 2?
Adam,
Adam and Lisa.
Got it. Well, I'll add my top 5 then, and I have to make a decision. So I have Adam, David, Lisa, Jeff, choice. Kevin. You want to do yours? Top 5?
Yeah. I would go, these are the 5 I would like to see interviewed, this isn't a ranking.
Okay.
I would say Lisa, Adam, Ginger, Kevin, I guess Peter.
Okay. Got that?
I think mine was the same.
Okay, then do me again. Do it again.
Adam, David, Lisa, Jeff,
Adam,
Kevin. I was just double checking to make sure I didn't get anyone confused with each other.
Adam, Lisa, Jeff, and who's the last one?
Adam, Lisa, Jeff, Kevin, David.
Okay, well, I'm already starting to see stuff. Mark, you want to give 5 names?
Yes. Adam, David,
Adam, David,
Lisa,
Lisa,
Ginger,
okay,
I guess Kevin.
okay.
I had a tough choice here for my number 5, but I'll go, Adam, David, Kevin, Ginger, Jeff.
Adam, David, Ginger, Jeff,
Kevin.
Kevin, got it, okay.
Top 5 here, Lisa, Adam, Ginger, Kevin, and David. Steve. Kevin, Adam, Jeff, Ginger, David.
Kevin, Adam, who was the other one?
Kevin, Adam, Jeff, Ginger, David.
I'll just let you know so far, everybody's chosen the same 5, except we have one outlier that only has 1.
Right.
Someone chose it. Nothing meant by it.
I'm used to being uncomfortable.
There's a big consensus brew, let's see what you got.
Yeah, off the wall. I've got Lisa, Adam, David, Ginger, Kevin. What you said?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, this is really getting, okay.
This is probably pointless, right?
Well, yeah.
Here we go anyway. Adam, Ginger, Kevin. 2 of these 3. Gonna say Jeff and Orion.
And who?
Orion.
Last one.
Adam, Kevin, Ginger, Jeff, and David.
Jeff. Well, okay, so what we have here, folks, are 6 that clearly have enormous check marks and 2 that only have 1 check mark. So we're really down to Lisa, Adam, Jeff, David, Ginger, and Kevin.
How many of those were unanimous? Just 1?
Gosh, a couple of them have just enormous amounts of checks. If I were to strike the one with the least number of checks,
It was Jeff.
it was Jeff. He got 7. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, forgot about that. On the phone.
Hi. I think the last person who said, Lisa, Adam, David, Kevin, and Ginger. I want to echo that.
Could you repeat that?
Lisa, Adam, David, Kevin, and Ginger.
Kevin and Ginger. Yeah.
You have 5 that are basically.
We have 5 that are kind of way ahead. We've got 1 strong second, and then we got a tie for third with one each. So if we were just off those check marks to choose the top 5, it would be Lisa, Adam, David, Ginger, and Kevin to interview.
Second.
Lisa, Adam, David, Ginger, and Kevin. And then Jeff is a second, although he's down by a few checks.
Well, could Jeff be in reserve if one of the other 5 drops out because the interview's in public?
Yeah,
I think that's what you do.
that's a darn good idea.
And actually, and then if we have to go below that, then, I mean, we'll take the other 2 that at least got 1. I mean,
Yeah.
if we had to go below the 5, but I mean, I think,
Well, we've selected out
right,
a few more people.
right. Yes, I think that we've eliminated basically, 3 more.
You're right. So I don't know if you need a formal motion, but I would move that we offer interviews to Lisa, Adam, David, Ginger, and Kevin, and hold Jeff in reserve in case any of those 5 decline the interview request.
Second.
Friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Public interviews?
Public interviews, yes. Agreed.
Withdraw my second, but now I put in my second.
With the same suggested ground rules we already talked about.
I guess I'd like to speak against the motion. I think given how the closeness of number 6 here, I'd like to entertain the possibility of 6 interviews.
Let's do 6. How much time do we have?
4 hours.
Doable, 30-minute interviews.
Doable, 4 hours, so we're going from 1 to 5?
So you figure we have to have time for discussion at the end. So you're basically, the last interview has to end at like 4:30-ish. So you could do half hour, 1:30, 2:30.
Could do half-hour interviews.
Or with
keep
15 minutes in between.
Keep your questions, I would think, well,
So if we did it, let me just do the math here. So if we did it, we kept the interview and then had time at the end, so 1 to,
10-minute discussion.
could we start a little earlier, 12:30? Is that correct, somebody stop?
we can start later. Or we can go later, it doesn't matter. The building.
You have the keys, right?
But I feel like it's go later. It's not a big deal. And if I have to, I just call DAF and tell them to leave it open, so. I mean, you can do it. We've done more than that in 4 hours. It's just, you have to be really on schedule.
Jeff had a lot of check marks. I agree with Steve. Okay, so I withdraw my motion and I remake the motion to offer interviews.
Public interviews.
Public interviews with the suggested ground rules. We offer interviews to Lisa, Adam, Jeff, David, Ginger, and Kevin.
Second.
All in
Discussion?
Yeah, any discussion?
I just feel that I'm totally respectful of everyone's votes. This is obviously, a good way to do things, but I feel that I need to express that. I would not interview Lisa given, for this position, given, if it were my choice. I found that application easy to eliminate simply because it didn't contain any information really about the consumer side of this issue. There wasn't anything in it that articulated concern about public interest or public-facing problems. And this is a government attorney applying for another government position who's making the case to help government do government's job. It's just not what we need. I think we're here because we were brought here by a different set of circumstances. And I just want to be on the record as saying that I don't think this is a good use of our time.
Further discussion?
I understand it's a transparency position. Maybe I'm parochial in my human resources views, but I concerned about, making a job interview, doing a job interview for the first cut in public, and I'll be in the one motion. You have to vote.
So
Well, I'll chime in here, I guess, that I really do believe that we have to do this in a public fashion. I don't see that the optics on this, in my view, are very important. And I have no problem doing this in a public setting, just so long as we ensure that the candidates understand sort of the ground rules that we previously discussed. There's no surefire way of protecting the questions or the interviews. I mean, I understand somebody could call in, but I think that we have a set of capable people who are trained and know the perils of cheating, if you will. So I have no problem doing this, and I certainly support the motion.
I guess to Lee's point, just, I agree that in looking at what's on paper right here, she was not my number one. But I think in terms of, spending another 40 minutes to ask those specific questions of her, I'm willing to give that time to make sure we've got the right person. I mean, I totally get what you're saying, and that was one of the things I was looking for when I was looking through these, is that it wasn't just the government side of things, and the people that were listed in my top and articulated, almost more of an advocacy, effort in their cover letter. I mean, to me, the cover letter is the most important thing on all of these, but I think, I'm more than willing to give, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Make sure we get it right.
And I would add that I happen to know this individual not terribly well, but I also know for a fact that that individual has done quite a bit of training for the association that she used to represent. So there is some qualifications in there that I think are important as well.
I would just add to Lee's point, I also did not include her in my top 5. I think I will support the motion because I think, given the large number of people who did put them in their top 5, I have to respect that. I don't think simply having represented the government side is a disqualifier by any means. I think one of my top 5 didn't make it. Well, actually, my number 6 who didn't make it is Peter, who I think really made a strong case for an understanding of both sides of the case, and it's very appealing for that reason. I think I will have to hear from this person more about what their real vision for the job is and their understanding of what the law means, because that was not articulated in the cover letter. But this is an opportunity to learn more, as Matt said.
Well, the one that's off, it's the top 5 are pretty apparent. The one that's off has just one less than 50% of that's what I counted up. So, I mean, that's the other thing is, do we want to keep them just in reserve in case of somebody backs out, or do we just want to go ahead knowing that less than half the group wanted to move them forward?
Are you asking about my numbers?
I'm asking the group, how do we?
I thought the motion was.
So I withdrew my motion for 5, and I made a motion for 6, which would include Jeff.
Right.
I'm very happy with that.
And starting at 12, well, that wasn't part of the motion. My suggestion would be to start at 12:30. Get a little more upward.
Second.
You already have.
For the third time.
Okay, any more discussion? Then I'm doing the 6 and starting at 12:30. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion carries.
One additional question, sorry. Given that, two of the candidates are from out of state, if they chose to avail themselves of an in-person interview, how would we handle that? Is there budget for travel or?
I don't think there's any funding available to have them come out for an interview. That is not part of what the expenses, or the money allotted to the position were for. So, it would be on their own dime. So, I don't know how the governor wants to handle it if they become one of the top three that we forward. If the governor wants to meet with them in person or whatever, that's beyond our kind of control. But my understanding of how the bill is written and how the funding is, it does not include money for interviews.
Thank you.
Okay, what else do we have here? So, the interview, the last agenda item that I have off, except for next step, is the interview process. Is there a particular interview process that we want to follow? I know we'll have the questions, and I think, knowing that we have 6 candidates, I will probably keep them to 5 to 6. Because we're gonna be in a time crunch, otherwise there's no way people are gonna be able to entertain questions. But how do we wanna do it? I don't know if we brought this up the first time, but I will bring our matrix. How we do our HR stuff is, we have a matrix chart, you know, you start with your first candidate and then you subsequently see your ranking as you go. So I don't know if that's going to be a beneficial tool to use. I find it then trying to sit at the end, trying to figure out who my favorites were and that sort of line. But what's the process we want to use?
This is Robbie, and I have a suggestion. I agree with your statements, Mary Beth. I would prefer, or stronger, I would resist any efforts to try to make this scoring thing. I've seen those kind of tend to fail. Some people like to take notes, so I would recommend you have the questions pre-marked with room for notes, and other people are more visual and really don't take hardly any notes. And I think you collect all the notes in the end, like the normal HR process, and then we talk it out at the end, just like we've kind of done here, whatever methodology we choose. Now we have to choose a methodology now. In terms of the structure, you can have ask all the questions, or I think what we've done is typically in both of my past 2 jobs, just go around the table and you have the same person asking the same question of all the candidates. So I don't know if people could volunteer, okay, I'll take that question, I'll take that. You can take it for all 6 people. And that way it's not one person, you know, like cross-examining the witness or something like that in front of a jury, so it feels weird. So you get the questions coming from various sides. That would be my suggestion in terms of process.
I'd be very willing to ask a question from our list of candidates. I'm sure others would too. And then basically we'll confer after we've done all the interviews and see if we can easily agree on a top 3.
Yeah, and that's the good news, is we actually don't have to choose the number 1. We have to choose, we have to essentially take the 6 and break it down to 3. So we can look forward on together.
Okay, and if we come up with 2 and not 3?
Well, the
The bill says 3.
Right.
So, if we only come up with 2, then Mary Beth Perkins maybe is going to be on board.
No, I don't qualify. I don't meet the minimum qualifications, and I'm not the room bar.
We're gonna give you an honorary degree.
The bill just spells out, we have to give her 3 names. So I don't know how we avoid giving her 3 names.
No, it's just, I know when we first talked, we said we wanted to be comfortable with all three candidates, so, if we only come up with two candidates, then I guess we open the recruitment, or we interview somebody else, or.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, let's hope we can get three, let's not. If we get to that, fork in the road, I'm sure we have a bunch of reasonable people we can figure out a path forward, but let's not overdo it yet.
Jump off that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if this group resembles anything like what they look like on paper during their interviews, then we're gonna have a tough decision on our hands.
Okay, and then, so my next steps is I will get the list of these individuals to our HR department. They will make the call. We make it very clear that we want to do these because of the position. We're going to do them as a public interview. However, we are asking you not to sit in on the interview until it's your time, not to listen to the interview before it's your time, to keep it on the up and up. Anything else? And then we'll give the out-of-towners the option of calling in. I would like to Skype if we can possibly Skype with them.
Yeah.
Hopefully they all have a camera available to do it, but. Anything else? All right, so our next meeting, Go ahead, Matt.
You're too efficient. We're 2 o'clock.
Hey, if anybody knows me, they know I hate meetings. I try to keep them.
And less have
Good.
dry.
I know, or less, I do so.
Can I just make sure I have the right people so I can put in this document?
Yes.
So we're going with Lisa, Adam, Jeff, sort of in the 6 hole, if I remember correctly, David, Ginger, and Kevin, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so 12:30 we'll be here. We'll make sure we are here before that, and so anybody else that wants to come in early or can, we'll meet downstairs so that we have the television.
It'll depend on which one's scheduled when, and we'll have to reach out.
Yeah, because we don't have that capability up here yet. We are in the process of getting one. If it gets hooked up before then, we can do it up here, but right now the TV's not hooked up. And then we can discuss, after that, we give our candidates there, and then what are we gonna do in the interim?
Wait.
Move forward or just wait?
Well, people that have more questions for you to consider, send it to you by Thursday.
Yep.
And then I guess just one final word to the wise for someone who's been in government too long. I normally am not trustworthy to keep such documents.
Yes.
I always give them back. I'm gonna put mine back on the pile for you to shred or do whatever you want, because I won't take possession of these sorts of things, because, you know, this is a lot of personal information, email and stuff like that, so I'm leaving that with you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
The questions that will be Thursday, the final proposed questions, are those going to then be sent out to us and review?
Just my suggestion again, normally Mary Beth would choose those, format them on a single sheet of paper back and front, and we wouldn't get those until we show up next Monday at 12:30, and we'll get hard copies of it. Sending them out electronically just creates potential for them to go elsewhere.
Meaning subject to a public
Yep.
record requirement?
Well, no, I think they can avoid that, just forwarding on to whomever.
Okay.
And, yeah, I just,
But if they're sent out in advance, some of us are subject to public records. And so,
Actually, everybody here is subject.
nobody's going, I don't disagree, but again, it's the exposure that puts you in that tough spot.
And we're able to supplement those questions as long as we're consistent in terms of making sure that we ask those questions to the other candidates.
So again, just my standard advice, as long as you can ask follow-up questions of any individual candidate that the follow-up question is caused by their answer. Those can be individual and unique. But if you have full intention of asking the same supplemental question of everybody, even without even meeting any of them, then you need to ask them of everybody.
Understood.
Because the last thing we want is a challenge on the process.
Right.
Okay, I guess
Thanks.
we are good.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, everybody.